Wife cheated, no betting to come back. So this is all very new. Wife of 5 years been together, 13 discovered her cheating first week of May, found DM that painted the full picture. Still burns just thinking about it. She began chatting to this person around the beginning of March, and by the end of March, I began to notice a change. More social media selfies, frequent visits to the same club/bar, and this is where she met this guy. She would go with her pals, mom, and sisters, so I didn't think much of it at first, but when she began arranging going to this spot, which is not like her at all, I realized something was up. I'd check her phone at random, but it had a complicated password and all the red signs. Anyway, a week before I found her, I called her out on the schism between us, since I'm sure you've all seen how a cheater behaves, and she said she believes we should split up because we're too different, etc. blah blah. So I agree and tell her that if she wants to separate, she must go. And we agree that I would give her time to find a place to live, since I have always been the provider. And we have an 11-year-old boy, so she has chosen not to work for a long time. After a week, I locate the DM and confront her through text. All she says is that she's coming to retrieve her things while I'm at work. So she moved in with her sister since she has no work and no money. We both agree that no matter what, we would split the bill 50/50 with our kid. I found her on May 4th. There was no communication with her for the first 2 weeks. Her own sister and mother were arguing with her and trying to be a shoulder to rely on through the horror I was going through. I couldn't sleep or eat, and I operate my own business, so trying to keep it together has required every ounce of strength I had. Knowing she threw everything away for a man at the club makes me ill, as does knowing what she is putting our kid through for her own selfish ambitions. I have not been a great husband by any means, but I have always been a devoted provider for our family. To add salt to the wound, she begins posting falsehoods on social media, claiming that we have been separated for a long time, that we are going through a divorce, and that she has met someone else. But everyone who knows me is aware of the reality. I began the divorce process via mediation since, for the most part, we agree on practically everything, but I'm sure that will change. After a month of hell and no contact, me just avoiding knowing anything about her and her new life, I began to pick myself up and look forward to the future, if only for a few moments at a time, until a week ago when she sent a half-apology text for the first time admitting she was wrong. I ignored it and planned on not responding to anything that didn't have to do with our son or divorce. A few more the next day stating she wanted to chat and apologized, then around 100 void messages, and texts the next day asking me to forgive her and take her back, and how she was blinded and would do everything to make it right. Turns out she got a DUI a few nights ago, and I suppose without me to hold her hand, her world is now collapsing around her. I've always believed in karma, and that it will eventually come up with her, but I didn't expect it to happen so quickly. And for a brief moment, I felt a small victory for once after the month I had just gone through, but that quickly faded, and the past week and the small progress I had made has started all over again. I'm staying strong, but there is that little devil in the back of my mind tempting me to see if she is willing to change. But trust me, I know it's just a desperate attempt by her. This is still going on. She continues promising to show me that she can be a better person, but I was better off when she was just enjoying her new best life. Sorry for the book, and a horribly written one at that. There are so many more details that make it even more messed up, but here is the gist of it. Thank you to everyone who reads. This sub has been a safe haven for me where I don't feel alone. I just reviewed what I stated and wanted to add a few more things. When I discovered the DM, she had been sleeping with this person for at least 3 weeks before she requested for the separation, claiming she was going to the store or her sister's place when she was going to meet him. I take my kid to practice and go to the gym after work, and she utilized that time to sneak around. And that's all I know, since SC and Instagram were their primary modes of communication, so who knows how many other times she lied using SC messages that were deleted. And also, when we first discussed separation/divorce, she said she didn't want anything house act, just $5,050 with our son. But the day before I found the DMS, I reiterated the fact that we cannot live together and be separated via text, and she blew up and told me that this was her home and she would not leave, and legally if anyone needed to leave, it was me. I'm guessing she saw something on Instagram. Thank goodness I discovered her old phone the following day and was able to connect onto her social media, since she has the same password for everything. I can't fathom the misery she would have put me through if I didn't have actual proof. I want to thank each and every one of you for your words of support and invaluable advice. Story 2. Mine didn't care. He told me his cheating was a great opportunity for character development for me. 9 days after informing me, through my press, that he had several prostitutes, approached so many females in person in broad daylight, and chatted to girls on dating apps, he asked me why I was still furious after putting everything on the table 9 days earlier. After all, it had only been 9 days, right? How come you can't simply get over it? He informed me a few days later that he didn't regret it, that he would do it again, but that on the bright side, I would know there was nothing wrong with me. He said, "I didn't cheat since you don't please me." He described me as his ideal lady in every aspect. Because of the aforementioned, he warned me not to read too much into his behavior. He confirmed that I cooked, cleaned, and did everything in the bedroom for him. I'm brilliant, popular, educated, the cool lady, the envy of his friends' partners. Even yet, here we were. He said there was no rationale for what he did, that he was fully aware, and that he just wanted to try something new. It's all very harmless, and not a huge problem. He inquired as to why I was so disturbed. He wondered why I was concerned over something as insignificant as when I mattered more to him than these prostitutes. Since he had an emotional connection with me, he was in love with me. I should be aware of this. I was naive to believe that any of his behaviors meant anything other than gratifying bodily demands. Of course, no one can cast a light on me, his first relationship, for 8 years since high school. So what exactly is the big deal? And why are there so many tears? When I sobbed silent tears, he assumed I was mentally sick for having such a genuine, if quiet, emotional response. He requested that I see someone professional. He was concerned about my mental health and the fact that I would be upset about something so little. He contacted my parents, and that frightened me because I didn't want to tell them the truth about what had occurred, and I wanted to persuade them that everything was okay. Finally, after days and hours of arduous circular and dizzying discussions, he took satisfaction in providing me with something, this chain of events, that would be a surprise character growth for me. Here you have it. I viciously cheated on you. I'm not sorry, and I've been taunting you about it for hours. But aren't you grateful that this will mold you into a better, stronger woman? He claimed to have done me a service in this regard. With this kind of gaslighting, I believed I was completely insane. I couldn't leave him because my self-esteem, sense of self, and sense of judgment had been progressively eroding since I was 15 years old. He urged me not to work. He became the only provider. It was my home, but he claimed it was his house, and I was in such a skewed reality that I believed him. As a result, I remained. I had started disassociating from New Year's until the beginning of February 2020. A month flew by in a single day. I'd stand alone in my kitchen and retch into the sink, not realizing that my body had recognized him as an illness before my mind had. I had a complete breakdown one night. It was revolting, and when I sat at his feet, he stared at me with scorn. He continued saying in quiet tones, "Get over it," again and over, even as I screamed for him to leave me alone, to stop speaking that line. "Why do 4 small words trigger you so much?" he said. "Just get over it. I can't believe you're behaving this way." I got numb and plummeted into the pit of darkness. Finally, he tipped my face to his and stated, along the lines of his character development spiel, "This, breaking you will make you stronger, my name. One day you'll understand, if you come into one of these folks who are similar to mine ex. You are well aware that they are soulless creatures. Some individuals really lack any and all feelings, even empathy, and they depend on people like us to believe they have changed and to support their story, their narcissistic supply. There are those who care, such as us, and others who do not, such as them. Often, even after we become used to knowing these folks, it's impossible to tell who amongst us is similar to them. Take your experiences in stride, and remember that anybody may be like this in the future. At the very least, we now have the expertise and skills to recognize them before they get too ingrained in our lives. I am aware that what I have undergone is terrible and can only be defined as psychological terrorism, and in addition to the horrifying repercussions of being cheated on. I'm well, but sometimes I simply torture myself and wonder how a bold and honest lady like myself got myself in this situation. And in the end, I'm just taken aback. Leaving is not as simple as many people believe. And we say, as soon as my significant other cheats, I'm gone. But when it occurs and we confront the reality, it's a very different story.